Once again, welcome to our home groups training. Today, we're going to talk about how do we spiritually prepare ourselves before we begin our home groups. It's just like anything else we prepare ourselves for. It takes a lot of thought, a lot of calculation of what we're about to accomplish or do. And so as we go through these four things, it's going to help us to prepare before we begin our home groups. The Bible tells us in Romans chapter 12, verse 1, "And so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind He will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship Him." So God gives us a way to worship Him when it comes to our focus, as well as how our spiritual acts of service should be. It should be done with our entire being. So if we look at preparing ourselves spiritually, here's the first thing we need to do is to be purposeful spiritually. We're not just going through the motions when it comes to our home groups. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 16 tells us, "For the scriptures say, you must be holy because I am holy." Now what God is not saying is you need to be perfect. But what He is saying is that you should be holy, that you should be set apart, that you should be without like nothing hidden. You're not hiding anything from God. You're open and your thoughts are on God, and there's an open communication with Him, that you're not hiding anything from Him. So when you're being purposeful spiritually, it's more than just having a home group. You're really putting yourself in the position of being used by God in a spiritual way. The second thing is to clear your mind of distractions. And it's easy to go down rabbit trails and easy to be distracted and think of all the things that you need to do for the home group. And if things do come up, take some type of pencil and paper and write it down. If thoughts are coming to you about something else other than the home group, write it down so that you don't forget and that you can come to it later. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 verse 16 tells us, "For who can know the Lord's thoughts? Who knows enough to teach Him? But we understand these things, for we have the mind of Christ." So God has already given us a way to think things through, and He's given us the mind of Christ. But if we're not purposeful behind it, if we're not clearing our mind of distractions, then we have the mind of self rather than the mind of Christ. So we want to be purposeful. We want to make sure that our mind and our focus is on spiritual matters and what God is going to do through us. And then the third thing is to keep your emotions in check. Sometimes when we're so busy trying to do something, our emotions are leading us in the context of a negative emotion, like anger or bitterness, or sometimes being tired. That's not really like a spiritual thing, but you can be emotionally tired. You can feel lethargic or exhausted from something, or maybe you're emotionally drained. And so all of these different emotions help us or pull us away from the Lord, and we slowly drift from Him. Or we feel apathy, or we're just absent, or we feel like our passion is suppressed. So there's no passion in doing what we're doing for the Lord. There's no emotion, no excitement. And if that's so, then we want to shift to a place where we're now filled with compassion and filled with God's love. And we want to be emotionally healthy and stable in that setting. And if we need to, forgive if necessary. Sometimes we have things hidden inside of us that we're holding on to that God cannot use us in with this spiritual, being purposeful spiritually, because we're holding on to unforgiveness. So let these things out, be holy for He is holy, as He tells us. And then the last thing is to be physically present. Sometimes we're just going through the motions of the home group, but we're not physically there. It's like when our children are home with us and we're on our phone and they're saying, "Mommy, Daddy, look at, oh wow, that's nice. Good job." And we're still on our phones and they're like, "But do you like it?" "Yeah, I really, really like it. That's a nice bear. That's a lion. It's a nice lion too. You're so creative. It's a bear and a lion." It's like a buy-in. So now we're physically there, but we're not physically present with our children. Same thing can happen with our home groups. We're physically there going through the motions, but we're not there with the people. So be physically present. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 tells us, don't you realize that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who lives in you and was given to you by God? You do not belong to yourself. And that's the key component when it comes to being spiritually prepared. We don't belong to us. And when we prepare ourselves spiritually, His wisdom, His guidance, His direction comes in a whole lot clearer than if we just went through the motions of watching service. Because now we're not watching service when we're spiritually prepared. We're hearing the voice of the Lord. So I hope this home group training has helped you to get prepared spiritually. And as always, until next time, keep moving forward and keep loving people as we continue to build our home group.